The old observatory sat on a hill where the town's lights grew soft and the sky grew brave. On clear nights, the dome opened like a silver eyelid, and the telescope stretched toward the stars. People came with questions and wishes, they left with quiet hearts and a map of the sky, printed in ink the color of midnight. Maya worked there on Fridays. She wore a navy sweater, silver hoop earrings, and a key on a thin chain around her neck, a tiny brass key that didn't open anything anymore. She liked the observatory's hum, the slow turning of gears, the soft footsteps on metal stairs. She liked the way people spoke in whispers, as if the stars could hear. Tonight, a fundraiser filled the entry hall with soft music and clinking glasses. Guests wandered past the constellation posters, laughing in polite, low tones. Maya stood at the welcome table, checking names, handing out little star pins. Her smile was steady, but inside she felt a familiar flutter. Clear sky. The dome would open. The big telescope would breathe. Name, she asked, glancing up. Adrian Hale, the man said. He had a warm voice, careful and calm. His suit was charcoal, his tie the color of dusk. When he smiled, it reached his eyes in a quiet way, like someone who'd learned to be gentle with the world. I think I'm late. Right on time, Maya said, handing him a pin shaped like a crescent moon. You can head up to the dome in a few minutes. We'll do a tour. He studied the pin. Do you ever get tired of the sky? He asked. Or does it surprise you every time? It surprises me, she said softly. Even when I think it won't. He nodded, as if that answer made complete sense. Later, when the speeches ended, Maya led a small group up the spiral stairs. The metal steps sang under their feet. The dome smelled faintly of machine oil and cold air. When the shutter opened with a low rumble, the night slipped in cool and blue-black, like a silk curtain pulled to one side. This is our 32-inch reflector, Maya said. Tonight, we'll look at the Andromeda Galaxy. It's about 2.5 million light-years away. The light we're seeing left before any of us were here. Guests took turns peeking into the eyepiece, murmuring. Maya moved with practiced ease, adjusting the focus, tightening bolts, guiding shoulders gently so no one bumped the scope. When it was Adrian's turn, he stepped forward, one hand on the railing, the other braced on the mount the way she'd shown them. He leaned in. Silence. He didn't speak for 10 long breaths. Then he exhaled, slow and warm, as if the galaxy had told him a secret. Do you see the faint halo? Maya asked, keeping her voice low. I do, he said. It looks like a memory. She smiled. A bright one. He straightened, looking at her now, not the stars. Thank you for this, he said. It's strange, but something about it, he searched for a word and didn't find it. It feels important. Maya was used to people saying things like that. But with him, the words landed differently, as if they had weight. She nodded and stepped back, letting others take their turns. When the group drifted away toward the courtyard for dessert, Adrian lingered by the open shutter. The night wind touched his hair. Far below, the town blinked like a field of tiny fires. He looked over at Maya, still adjusting the telescope, neat and careful, the way a librarian might handle a very old book. Do you get breaks? He asked. Sometimes, she said. Why? I want to ask you something. But only if you have a few minutes later. She studied him, curious. I'll be closing the dome after midnight. It gets quiet then. I can wait, he said. He was easy in his patience, like a person who didn't mind long roads. By 1 o'clock, the fundraiser had ended. The music faded. Staff carried trays down the stairs. Maya moved through her closing checklist, clicking switches, logging observations, smoothing a small nick on the railing with her thumb. Adrian waited near the big porthole window, hands in his pockets, his gaze steady and kind. She turned to him. "What did you want to ask?" He came closer, but not too close. His voice fell into the hush of the room, a warm whisper that matched the night. "What do you do with silence?" he asked. "When the sky is too vast, and something inside you is too loud." Maya blinked. She had expected a question about stars. About distance or time or the way galaxies collide. Not this. The tiny brass key on her chain seemed to grow heavier. "I listen to it," she said. "And then I speak to it like a friend." Adrian's breath left him in a soft, almost laugh. "I thought you might say something like that." "Tell me what's loud," she said gently. He hesitated, then shook his head. "I will," he said, "if we can trade. One piece of honesty for another." "Okay," she said. "Trade." "Outside," he added, tipping his head toward the terrace. "Where the wind can carry our words away." They stepped through the side door onto the narrow stone deck. The air tasted like pine and cold iron. Above them, the observatory's slit showed a ribbon of stars. Adrian placed his hands on the railing, looking up. Maya stood beside him, shoulder to shoulder, a careful inch of space between them. "You first," he whispered. Maya touched the key at her throat and gathered her courage. "The key," she said. "I used to think it might still open something. It doesn't. I wear it because I'm afraid to admit I lost what it belonged to." Adrian turned, searching her face. "What did it belong to?" "My old life," Maya said. "A life I left behind. A door I can't go back through." The wind lifted, brushing her hair across her cheek. Adrian reached out, stopped and let the moment rest. "Thank you," he said simply. "My turn." He leaned closer so his whisper would not carry back into the dome. "I came here tonight," he said, "to decide something I've been avoiding for a year." He swallowed. "Andromeda looked like a memory to me because I'm about to leave one behind." "What memory?" Maya asked, her voice as soft as the wind. He closed his eyes. "A marriage," he said. "And everything tied to it." The observatory lights dimmed to their night setting, and the world narrowed to breath, starlight, and the quiet space between two people on a cold stone terrace. "Will you stay?" he whispered, "a little longer?" Maya looked up at the stars, then at him. "A little longer," she said. And then just then the dome motors hummed, the slit beginning to close as a cloud moved in, and a single bright streak crossed the sky, brief as a secret. They both saw it. Neither spoke. The cloud thickened. The dome shutter paused. The whisper of the wind changed. Something was about to happen. The cloud didn't feel like an accident. It slipped in from the mountains with a sure hand, like a curtain pulling itself across a stage. Stars dimmed, then vanished. The observatory lights flickered as if surprised. Maya and Adrian leaned over the railing, listening. It was so quiet they could hear the pine trees far down the hill, their needles combing the wind. From the town below came a distant siren, brief, then gone, like a dream that can't hold on. Maya's first instinct was practical. She stepped back inside, checked the weather feed, glanced at the dome control. The shutter was still open but waiting, like a held breath. She entered a command to pause the auto-close, then returned to the terrace. "It'll pass," she said. "Or it won't. Either way, we're okay." Adrian smiled. "You talk like the sky is a person," he said. "Sometimes I think it is," she replied. "A shy one." He rested his elbows on the stone and looked at her, a thoughtful half-smile curving at the edges. "I promised honesty. So I'll finish saying it. I'm ending my marriage." He said it without drama, as if he didn't want to harm the words by pushing them too hard. We were good people in the wrong sentences. I kept trying to rewrite us. Tonight, I wanted a sign that letting go can be kind. Maya looked toward the slit in the dome, now filled with soft gray. "A meteor crossed at the exact moment you said the word." "Kindness likes to interrupt," she said. He breathed out. "Then maybe it's time." He glanced at her key. "What door was yours?" "Music," she said, almost smiling. "I used to play piano. Not as a job. As breath. A year ago, I walked out of a concert hall after a bad night and didn't go back. I told myself it was just a break. But the key belonged to the practice room. And the room is not mine anymore." Adrian listened the way some people pray, quiet and complete. "What made it a bad night?" Maya tilted her head, remembering. "Not the mistakes," she said. "It was the feeling that all my notes were only doing a good job of pretending to be someone else's notes. Like I lost the small voice inside the big sound. That scared me." He nodded, the understanding plain in his eyes. "The small voice matters. It's the only one that lasts," she said. A gust curled around them, carrying a faint smell of rain. Distant thunder rolled, too soft to be threatening, more like a deep drum sounding from very far away. Adrian's hands rubbed together for warmth. Maya noticed and pulled a folded blanket from the storage bench, handing it over. "Thank you," he said, draping it over his shoulders. After a moment, he lifted half of it in invitation. It was a small, respectful gesture, no rush, no pressure, like offering someone a corner of shade. Maya hesitated, then stepped under the shared warmth. Their shoulders touched. The touch was light, steady, and honest. They stood like that for a long minute, listening to the sky, letting the closeness say what language would complicate. The world felt slowed down and more exact. The key at Maya's throat warmed against her skin. Adrian's breath matched the wind. "Tell me something beautiful," he whispered. Maya thought. "Okay," she said. "There's a star in the southern sky called Antares. It's a red giant, very bright. When you look at it through a telescope, you can see a tiny green flash along the edge because of how the light bends in the air. It's brief. If you blink, you miss it. But if you hold your breath and wait, the little green shows itself and you remember, even red can hide green." Adrian smiled like someone who'd just been handed a perfect sentence. "Even red can hide green," he repeated. "I'll keep that." "Your turn," she said. "Tell me something beautiful." "The day I realized," he said slowly, "that love is not a performance report. It doesn't grade you. It doesn't ask for quarterly goals. It just keeps showing up and making tea." Maya laughed, a soft, surprised sound. "I like that. I have made many cups of tea for the sky." "So have I," he said. Inside the dome, a small alert chimed. The cloud thickened, a light sprinkle ticked against the shutters. Maya checked the time. If the rain grew, she would have to close everything. She didn't want to rush the moment, but the observatory had its rules. "We might need to seal the dome," she said. "Come with me." They moved in sync, stepping through the doorway, their shared blanket slipping but staying. Maya took the controls, hands confident and swift. The shutter obeyed, drawing the night out of reach. The big room glowed softly in its red safety lights. When the motors stilled, a deeper silence settled. It was the good kind, full, protective, almost tender. Maya turned and found Adrian closer than before, the calm in his eyes brightened by the low light. "Thank you for letting me say it," he whispered. "It felt safe here." "It is safe," she said. He reached up, not to touch her, but to touch the air near her cheek, as if brushing away an invisible hair. The gesture felt like a promise, "I will be careful with you." "May I ask you something strange?" he said. "Ask," she whispered. "Would you show me the piano?" he asked. "If there is one." "Not to play for anyone. Just for you. Just a few notes, like a quiet hello." Maya's pulse jumped. She hadn't expected that. "There's an old upright in the lecture room," she said slowly. "It's not in tune." "Neither am I," he answered, smiling. "That's okay." She held his gaze for a breath, then nodded. She lifted the key at her throat, felt its small weight, and let it fall back. "Okay," she said again. "Come." They walked down the spiral stairs, the red lights guiding them like low moons. The lecture room door creaked, a tired, familiar sound. The piano sat in the corner, dark wood, a little chipped, its bench polished by many years of waiting. Maya sat. Adrian stayed a respectful step away, his hands quiet at his sides. She lifted the fall board, let her fingers hover, and closed her eyes. Her first note was barely a note, more breath than sound. The second found it. The third made a shape. She played a simple line she used to play when she was a child, a handful of stars turned into music. The tuning was imperfect, her touch was careful, something loosened in her chest, like the smallest door opening. She looked up. Adrian's eyes were shining, not with tears, but with attention so complete it felt like a gift. "I remember this," she whispered. "Me too," he said, though he'd never heard it before. Maya began a second phrase, braver and softer at once. The room listened. The rain paused. And then, from the hallway, a new sound rose, footsteps, quick and determined, coming closer. Maya's hands stilled on the keys. The lecture room door began to open. The cloud hadn't felt like an accident, it had arrived with purpose, rolling in low and thick, covering the stars as if the universe wanted privacy. Inside the observatory, the last of the fundraiser guests had left, their laughter fading into the parking lot below. Now only the hush of machinery and the scent of rain remained. Maya and Adrian stood side by side, still wrapped in the shared blanket, their shoulders brushing now and then like passing thoughts. The old upright piano in the lecture room sat waiting, a quiet shadow in the corner. Maya's fingers hovered over the keys, her pulse unsteady. She hadn't played for anyone in a year. Adrian stayed a step away, his eyes gentle, his hands folded as though holding silence itself. "Just a few notes," he had said. "No demand, no stage, no spotlight, only a quiet invitation." Maya pressed down on a single key. It trembled, slightly out of tune, but it carried. The sound filled the room like a small flame in darkness. She let another note follow, then another, a thread of melody she remembered from childhood, the kind her grandmother used to hum when folding sheets. The notes were imperfect but alive, like stars seen through thin clouds. She closed her eyes and let her hands find the pattern, not caring if the edges frayed. Her shoulders loosened. Her chest eased. Something she had thought broken whispered back to life. When she looked up, Adrian wasn't smiling broadly, but softly, almost reverently, as if the music itself had reached him in a private place. His eyes shone, not wet, but bright with attention. "I remember this," she whispered. "Me too," he answered, though he had never heard it before. Her laughter was quiet, almost disbelieving. "You're impossible." "Or honest," he said. "That's the sound of someone remembering herself." She let the final chord linger and then lifted her hands away. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was warm, like a blanket still holding body heat. But then came the footsteps. They were sharp against the hall's stone floor, quick and certain, not the shuffle of a janitor or the soft step of a lingering guest. Maya froze, hands hovering above the keys. Adrian turned toward the door, his expression sharpening, not in fear but in readiness. The door creaked open. Professor Eliza Hart, the observatory's director, appeared in the frame. Her silver hair was pulled back in a neat twist, her glasses catching the red glow of the safety lights. She carried a folder under one arm and raised a curious brow. "Maya?" she asked. "You're still here?" Maya stood quickly. "Yes, Professor. Just finishing up." She faltered, her hand brushing the piano. Eliza's gaze moved between her and Adrian, taking in the shared blanket, the open fallboard, the charged hush of the room. A small smile tugged at the professor's mouth, though it was careful, unreadable. "I see," she said. "Mr. Hale, I presume? Our benefactor for tonight's event." Adrian inclined his head politely. "That's right." Eliza studied him for a beat longer than necessary. Then she shifted her folder and said, "The weather is turning. Best to close down soon. Maya, lock the lower doors when you leave." "Yes, Professor," Maya murmured. With that, Eliza turned and walked away, her steps fading as swiftly as they had come. Maya exhaled, realizing she had been holding her breath. "She must think, let her think what she likes," Adrian said calmly. "We know what this is." She looked at him, caught by the quiet certainty in his voice. "And what is this?" "A beginning," he said simply. The word stayed between them, glowing like a low ember. Maya felt the key at her throat grow warm again, as though agreeing. Outside, the rain thickened, drumming softly on the roof. The observatory lights hummed low. Adrian stepped closer, still giving her space. "Thank you for the music," he said. "I meant it, it felt like a sign. The same way Andromeda did. A reminder that memory doesn't mean the end. Sometimes it's just a door to something new." Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to answer, but the words tangled. Instead, she placed her hand on the keys once more, pressing two simple notes together, unpolished, imperfect, yet in harmony. Adrian's gaze met hers. He nodded once, as if to say, "Yes. I understand." The rain deepened, wrapping the observatory in a cocoon of sound. For a moment, it was only them, the piano, and the whisper of a new beginning. But then a low rumble rolled across the hills, not thunder this time. It was deeper, stranger, like something shifting beneath the earth. Maya's hands stilled on the keys. Adrian looked toward the ceiling, his jaw tightening. "What was that?" she whispered. He shook his head slowly, listening. Not the sky, he said. Something else. The lights flickered. The old building creaked. And in that fragile silence, both of them knew, the night was not finished with them yet. The wind whipped around the dome, rattling the glass like it was trying to shake them loose. Maya pressed closer to Adrian, feeling the strength in his shoulders, the calm in his movements. Each step up the spiral staircase had felt deliberate, measured, but now at the top, with the open sky stretching above, the thrill of the unknown surged through her. The flicker on the roof hadn't disappeared. Whoever or whatever was out there was waiting. Maya could almost sense it, a presence watching, calculating, almost alive. Adrian crouched, pointing toward a small hatch on the dome's floor. There's a maintenance tunnel, he whispered. It leads across the roof. If we move quietly, we can get a better view without being seen. Maya nodded, her pulse quickening. Her hand found his again, and he didn't pull away. The contact was electric, a steady reassurance amid the chaos of the storm. Her skin tingled where it touched his, a warmth that had nothing to do with the heavy coat she wore. They edged forward, crouching low, the metallic floor beneath their knees slick with condensation. The storm outside made everything sharper, the snap of a loose shutter, the hiss of rain hitting metal, the low rumble of thunder. Then, suddenly, the flicker froze. And the figure emerged. It was a man, tall and agile, moving with a precision that suggested he belonged here or knew exactly what he was doing. A dark jacket clung to him, rain dripping from his shoulders, but his face was hidden beneath a hood. His eyes glimmered briefly in the dim light, catching the reflection of the observatory's instruments. Maya swallowed hard. Who is he? Adrian's jaw tightened. I don't know. But he's careful. Watch his movements. The stranger paused, scanning the area with the meticulousness of someone expecting to find something or someone. Maya's breath caught when his gaze swept closer to where they crouched behind the hatch. For a heartbeat, she thought he might see them. But then he moved on, stepping lightly across the roof, almost floating over the rain-slicked metal. Adrian exhaled softly. He's after the telescope, he murmured. Whatever he's looking for, it's not us. Not yet. Maya's mind raced. Why would someone come here in the middle of a storm? Because it's important, Adrian said simply. His hand brushed hers again, a subtle pressure that made her stomach flutter. And because only certain people know how to find it? The words lingered, and a new awareness settled in Maya. There was danger here, yes, but also an intimacy in the shared experience, a connection that made the fear sharp and sweet all at once. They followed the figure across the roof, silent and careful. The observatory seemed to pulse beneath their feet, almost guiding them, its old stones warm with hidden energy. Maya felt like the building itself was alive, responding to their courage or daring them to take the next step. As they approached the telescope, the figure crouched, reaching inside a protective case. Sparks of light flickered from a small device he held, illuminating the intricate machinery. Maya's breath caught. She had studied telescopes in school, but never had one looked like this. The lenses gleamed with unnatural clarity, the mechanisms whispering secrets she didn't understand. Adrian moved closer, his shadow brushing hers. We need to distract him, he said softly. Maya's pulse surged. She looked at him, meeting his eyes, and something unspoken passed between them. This wasn't just about the stranger anymore, it was about trust, about connection, about the thrill of being side by side in danger. Adrian took her hand again, a stronger grip this time. Ready? Maya nodded, heart racing. They stepped out from the hatch together. The man didn't see them immediately, focused entirely on the device in his hands. The storm gusted, and in that moment, the world narrowed to the three of them, the rain, and the metal gleam of the telescope. Then, a flash of lightning illuminated the scene perfectly. The stranger froze, head turning sharply. Maya felt a jolt of adrenaline and something else, a heat that spread through her chest. She met Adrian's gaze, and the intensity of the moment wrapped around them, thrilling, terrifying, intimate. The figure bolted, gripping the telescope device as he ran. Adrian and Maya exchanged a glance, understanding without words. They had to follow, had to confront, had to know the truth. Maya's pulse hammered in her ears, but she wasn't afraid. Not completely. With Adrian by her side, every risk felt like an invitation, every shadow a secret waiting to be revealed. As the storm raged around them, the chase began not just for the stranger, but for the whispering mysteries of the observatory. And for Maya, every step with Adrian brought a dangerous, undeniable thrill she couldn't and didn't want to resist. The night stretched before them, wide and electric, full of secrets waiting to be claimed. And in the chaos of rain and steel and whispered wind, Maya realized she was no longer just an observer. She was part of the story now, part of the pulse, part of the storm and part of something she had never expected, desire intertwined with danger, thrilling and impossible to ignore. The rain had turned into a relentless downpour, drumming against the metal roof like a warning drum. Maya's hair clung to her face, and her coat was soaked through, but she barely noticed. All her attention was on the figure dashing across the observatory roof, the mysterious device clutched tightly in his hands. Adrian's grip on her hand was steady, anchoring her, even as the wind threatened to push them off balance. "We can't let him get away," he shouted over the roar of the storm. "Come on." Maya nodded, heart pounding, legs pumping to keep pace. Each step was slippery, dangerous, but adrenaline made her move faster than she thought possible. Fear and excitement collided in her chest, the thrill of danger mingling with the electricity she felt whenever Adrian was near. The stranger dove over a low railing, landing on a narrow walkway connecting the observatory to the old administration building. Maya's stomach dropped watching him, but Adrian didn't hesitate. "I've got you," he said, and they followed, crouching low to avoid detection. Maya couldn't stop noticing the way he moved, confident, calculated, protective. Every glance he shot her was reassuring, almost intimate. Her chest tightened as she realized she was more aware of him than the stranger ahead. The walkway narrowed into a shadowed corridor, the storm outside muffled by thick stone walls. The stranger paused, apparently realizing they had closed the distance faster than expected. He spun around, hood slipping back to reveal a glimpse of his face in the dim light. Maya froze. The man's eyes, sharp, calculating, met hers. And in that brief instant, she felt a shiver that wasn't just from the cold. There was something magnetic, dangerous, yet almost familiar in his gaze. Adrian stepped forward instinctively. "Stop," he commanded, voice low but firm. "We don't want trouble. Just give it to us." The stranger tilted his head, a ghost of a smile brushing his lips. "You think you can just stop me?" he asked, voice smooth, teasing even. "You don't know what you're dealing with." Maya felt her pulse quicken, not just from fear, but from the tension between the three of them. The storm outside battered the walls, and in the echo of thunder, the corridor seemed smaller, tighter, charged with something dangerous and alive. The stranger made a sudden move toward a side door, and Adrian lunged, grabbing him by the arm. Maya's hand shot out instinctively, helping, her heart racing with the thrill of close contact. Their movements synchronized without speaking, a silent partnership forged in danger. The man twisted free, pulling a small gadget from his coat pocket. Maya gasped as it emitted a sudden flash of light, momentarily blinding them. She stumbled, but Adrian's arms were around her, steadying her instantly. The heat of his body pressed close, grounding her, thrilling her. When her vision cleared, the stranger was gone, slipping through a narrow stairwell that led down into the observatory's lower chambers. Maya's chest heaved. "He's gone," she whispered, though part of her knew he wasn't far. Adrian's eyes scanned the corridor, sharp and calculating. "Not for long," he said. Then his gaze softened as he looked at her. "You okay?" Maya's lips parted, trying to catch her breath. Yeah," she said, though her words felt weak. Her body still hummed from the chase, from the danger, from being so close to Adrian. She couldn't deny the pull she felt, the way her skin tingled whenever he was near. Adrian leaned closer, just enough for her to feel the warmth of his breath. "Stay close," he murmured. "We're not done yet." Maya nodded, heart fluttering, feeling a thrill she hadn't expected. Every danger, every flash of lightning, every sudden movement between them seemed to draw them closer, tightening an unspoken bond. The observatory's lower chambers yawned ahead, dark and mysterious, lit only by the occasional flicker of emergency lights. The air was thick with moisture and anticipation, and Maya felt it keenly. This was the moment where choices mattered, where courage and desire collided. She glanced at Adrian. His eyes met hers, steady, intense. And in that gaze, she understood that whatever lay ahead, danger, mystery, or revelation, they would face it together. The stranger had vanished for now, but the chase was far from over. Maya could feel it in the damp, electric air. And beneath the fear, beneath the thrill of pursuit, something more dangerous, more irresistible, stirred between her and Adrian. The lower chambers beckoned, secrets waiting in the shadows, and Maya stepped forward, hand in hand with him, ready for whatever came next. The lower chambers smelled of damp stone and rust, a stark contrast to the storm's fury above. Maya's boots echoed softly against the wet floor, each step making her pulse jump. Adrian stayed close, his hand brushing hers occasionally, intentionally or not she couldn't tell, and the uncertainty made her chest ache with anticipation. "Stay alert," he whispered, his voice low, vibrating against her ear. The closeness made her shiver, a mixture of fear and something else she hadn't expected, a heat that spread through her with every heartbeat. The stairwell opened into a circular chamber, dimly lit by a single swinging lantern. Shadows clung to the walls, twisting like they had a life of their own. Maya squinted, trying to adjust, and that's when she saw it, a faint glow from a control panel tucked into the far corner. The stranger had already been here. Adrian motioned for her to stay behind him as he crept forward. "Whatever he's after," he muttered, "he won't get it." Maya's eyes flicked to the panel, noting the device's soft hum. Strange symbols pulsed on the screen, and she could feel the energy in the air, an almost tangible vibration, like the room itself was alive. She felt drawn to it, even as Adrian's presence behind her reminded her to be careful. Suddenly, a shadow moved, a blur against the stone wall. Maya gasped. Adrian reacted instantly, moving between her and the shadow, muscles coiled, eyes sharp. The stranger stepped into the lantern light, holding another device, smaller this time, but equally mysterious. "You're persistent," he said, a smirk playing at his lips. But you're too late. Adrian's jaw tightened. It's never too late, he said. Give it to us, or you'll regret it. Maya's heart raced, and for a fleeting moment, she felt the pull of the stranger's charm, the danger, the thrill, the raw intensity of the unknown. She had to shake it off. This wasn't about attraction. Not yet. The stranger lunged forward with surprising speed, the smaller device aimed at the panel. Adrian blocked him, grappling in a tangle of arms and force. Maya's breath caught, watching them struggle, every movement sending jolts of tension through her. She wanted to help, but she wasn't sure how. Every instinct screamed caution. Then the device slipped, clattering to the floor. Sparks flew, illuminating the room in brief bursts, and the hum from the panel shifted into a high-pitched whine. The stranger cursed, stepping back, and Adrian pressed closer, voice sharp. Now, Maya. Without thinking, Maya reached out, gripping the device. Her fingers brushed the metal, feeling the pulse of energy beneath her skin. Adrenaline surged through her, and in that instant, something shifted not just in the room, but between her and Adrian. He looked at her, eyes wide, a mixture of pride and something deeper, more personal. The stranger hesitated, and that pause was all they needed. Adrian surged forward, pulling the stranger into a tight hold, disarming him completely. Maya's heart thumped in her chest, and for a moment, everything felt suspended. Storm outside, the hum of energy, the closeness of Adrian, the danger still lingering in the air. You okay? Adrian asked, voice softer now, almost intimate. Maya nodded, chest heaving. Yeah, she said, though her voice trembled slightly. She could feel the warmth of his body even through the damp layers of their coats. Every nerve ending seemed alive, every glance between them carrying a tension she couldn't ignore. Adrian's hand found hers again, squeezing gently. We make a good team, he said, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. Maya's lips curved into a smile, heart fluttering. Yeah, she whispered. The best. The stranger, now subdued, muttered something unintelligible, frustration evident in every line of his posture. Adrian tightened his grip, eyes never leaving the man. You're coming with us, he said firmly. Maya felt a thrill that wasn't just from the chase or the danger. Standing there, close to Adrian, sharing the risk and the triumph, something had shifted between them. The storm outside continued to rage, but inside the observatory's lower chambers, a different kind of electricity crackled, intense, undeniable, and entirely theirs. As the stranger was led away, Maya's gaze met Adrian's. The energy between them lingered, silent and powerful, like the unspoken promise of more to come. She realized the danger wasn't gone, but neither was the pull she felt toward him. Stronger now, impossible to ignore. Together, hand in hand, they turned back toward the main observatory. Outside, the storm still roared, but inside, a spark had ignited that neither the wind nor the rain could extinguish. The main observatory stretched before them, domed and shadowed, as if holding its own secrets within the metal ribs and glass panels. Rain hammered the windows in a relentless rhythm, but inside, the storm felt distant, a contrast to the whirlwind of adrenaline and unspoken emotion between Maya and Adrian. They moved cautiously, eyes scanning the dimly lit room. The panels hummed faintly, remnants of the energy they had just wrestled from the stranger. Maya could still feel it tingling in her fingers, a reminder of how close they had come to disaster and how close she had felt to Adrian in that perilous moment. Adrian stopped near the central telescope, turning to face her. You did well back there, he said, voice low and earnest, his eyes searching hers. I couldn't have handled him alone. Maya felt a flush creeping up her neck. We handled him together, she corrected, her hand brushing against his. The contact sent an electric jolt through her, one she didn't want to resist. They stepped closer to the telescope, the glow of the remaining instruments casting soft light across their faces. The room seemed suspended in time, the danger behind them, yet the tension between them was palpable. Adrian's gaze lingered on her lips, then flicked to her eyes, reading her thoughts as if he could see the questions she hadn't dared to voice. You know, he began, hesitating slightly, I've never worked with someone who reacts like you do. So focused, so fearless. You have a way of grounding me, even in chaos. Maya swallowed hard, her pulse racing. I felt the same, she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know why, but I trusted you, completely. A moment of silence hung between them, heavy and charged, the hum of the instruments filling the void. Then, slowly, Adrian reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek, and Maya felt the world narrow to just the two of them, two people caught between danger, desire, and the unspoken possibility of something more. I've wanted to say this since the moment we met, Adrian murmured, voice husky. You're extraordinary, Maya. And I want more than just this, more than the missions, more than the risks. I want you. Maya's breath caught. Her heart raced in a rhythm that matched the storm outside. I feel the same, she confessed, stepping closer, drawn to him in a way that was undeniable. The fear and thrill of the night had melted into a magnetic pull, one that neither could ignore any longer. Their foreheads met, eyes locking, breaths mingling. Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating the room in brilliant flashes, but inside, everything was warm and intimate. Slowly, hesitantly, Adrian leaned in, and Maya met him halfway. Their lips touched in a tentative kiss, soft at first, testing the space between them, then deepening as the tension of the night gave way to longing. Maya's hands traced the contours of his shoulders, feeling the strength she had admired all evening, and Adrian's arms wrapped around her, holding her close as if he would never let go. Every spark of danger, every whispered warning from the storm, faded into nothingness, replaced by the intense, undeniable connection that had been building between them. They broke apart slightly, foreheads resting together, breaths mingling. We make a good team, Adrian said, voice low, a teasing note in it that made her laugh softly. The best, Maya replied, smiling, a warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the storm outside. For the first time that night, the observatory felt safe, not because the danger was gone, but because they had found something stronger amidst it, trust, courage, and an attraction neither could deny. As the storm began to wane, the first light of dawn filtered through the domed windows, painting the room in soft gold. They stood together, hands intertwined, gazing at the horizon. The world outside was vast, full of unknowns, but they faced it side by side, hearts aligned and fearless. Maya felt a thrill of hope mixed with something more potent, a sense that the night's danger had forged a bond neither time nor circumstance could break. Adrian squeezed her hand, and she returned the gesture, a silent promise passing between them. The observatory held its secrets, the storm had passed, and the whispers of the night faded. But the memory of their closeness, the sparks of adrenaline and desire, and the undeniable pull toward one another lingered, an unspoken story of trust, courage, and a connection that had begun with danger and blossomed into something undeniable. Outside, the world was waking, but inside the observatory, Maya and Adrian knew that whatever came next, they would face it together, hearts racing, hands entwined, and a new story just beginning.